Hi everyone. It's nice to have you guys here. I think it's been 3 weeks now since we last did the webinar. If you're just joining for the first time, this is Fumbi Ogunfua for the Ball Business, and today's my brother, my friend, my business partner is Midun. Midun, how are you doing, bro? I think you're on mute, Midun.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hi, Fundy. Very well, thank you. Nice to be here again. Every time with our community members, the time I always look forward to.
That's brilliant. I see you're a bit jet lagged, quite tired. You've just got back from the African Football Agent conference in Cape Verde, and I'm sure you've got a lot of stories and gist for us regarding that.
Well, it was a very nice time. We got to meet agents, stakeholders, lawyers, fellow lawyers also. Having that discussion about how to move the industry forward, not just the African industry, but the global industry as a whole. Speaking about when I say we, I mean ball business presented on, you know, digitalization in football, uh, various wonderful conversations, sports trafficking, and even conversations that member associations need to listen to. So yeah, great time, wonderful time. You know, it's always lovely discussing with fellow industry experts.
It was nice. I like the fact that when you said we, somebody sent me a text message and I was like, Fumbi, that's Mido. I'm watching Mido on the conference. So you guys are there representing Ball Business and everyone in the community. I said, yes, he's representing all of us, which is very interesting. And that's why we're having these sort of conversations. And Ball Business Explained, this is a series that we've been doing since, but we just pushed it or shoved it outside. But now having series of conversations with the team. Tumishe is the producer of this one. He's behind the scene. Shout out to you, my brother, and everybody in the business. Ball Business, myself, Mido, and the rest of the team said, okay, let's come back with this brand new episode in a different way, which is the Ball Business Explain This. And what we are going to be doing is, if you're a premium member, I can say a lot of people are waiting. Marcel is waiting, Stanley is waiting to join the conversation. So if you're a premium member, you are going to be able to join this conversation live. We'll bring them in the room and they're able to join these conversations. And what we'll be doing is be answering questions that a lot of people have been asking us, maybe via DM. And if you're also watching live, you could still post those questions directly on your live chat and we'll be more than happy to attend to them. So this week, his questions have been bordering on what should I be doing while waiting for the result? I know it is nerve wracking. I remember when I wrote my exam, if I check my email, then they didn't even tell us what date the exam should come out or would come out. So whenever I receive an email, I'm just always in my phone. I'm like, God, when am I getting this result? And I'm sure Midun too can tell me about his experience regarding that. So those are the questions we'll be facing. We'll be explaining today. Those questions that have come via email, via our DMs, we've collated some of them. If time permits us, we are going to be able to go through all of them. If not, the ones we are able to answer, we'll answer them in depth. My brother, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's lovely. We could do it that way. And obviously, if anyone has questions for us before we are done, if we're done all the questions that we have, if anyone has more questions for us, I mean, we could always take that also.
So the first questions from all of the questions that we collated, the first question goes this way, and then the person says, he said, Fumbi, I just took the exam recently, and honestly, I am exhausted. Do I really need to keep studying through this, or can I just rest? If I pass, there is no point. And if I failed, I'm not even sure I want to resit. Mido, how are you going to answer this person and everybody who's got this line of thought?
Well, to be fair, I can remember when I took my exam also, and I was always in your DMs and others DMs also saying, "Oh, what's going on? When is the result going to
Mido,
come out?"
sorry, somebody said
Yes.
your voice is very low in the chat that they can't really hear you. Uh,
Okay.
or probably maybe it's me, I'm not sure. So, Atlay, if it's Mido, if it's me, just say so that we can adjust the mic sound or the volume rather. Yeah, continue, bro. Sorry to cut you there.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, I could remember when I wrote my exams and I was waiting for the results and I had to send messages to Fumbi saying, "Oh, yo, I'm very scared. What's going on?" I'm pretty sure you can remember that. It was very
Yes, of course.
so yeah. So trust me when I say I understand what you're going through. It is always like this, and this period is always like this. And saying do you need to keep studying or you should just rest? I think what I would say is this period is more or less the time to work on things that would give you a breakthrough when you eventually get your license. It's time to build things, build the foundation on certain things that would enable you move faster. Because trust me, the exam is probably the easiest part of the industry, easiest thing you do, and um, you need to you need to just move on, um, read cases, get information on market trends. And it's funny because when we recently went to Cape Verde, the African Agents Conference, I met a very interesting young man. His name is Paulo from Paris, and he just wrote the exams, but he was at the conference as an aspiring agent. So I mean, this is the time to do things like this, network, and to be fair, joining programs like this is probably one of the best ways to pass this waiting period because you get experience, you get information, read market trends, read what's going on with the ECJ ruling on the Diara case, because that directly affects the FFAR, which governs your interaction as an agent. So stay up to breast on information. You know, reach out to people, network. That's the best thing you can do at this point in time. So,
Yeah.
Fumbi, what do you think about this question?
For me, you've said most of the most important things, not even part, to be honest. And like you said, you've rightly mentioned Paulo, who's just written the exam, and you already met. networking at Cape Verde. For me, I'm going to touch point on the part where the person is asking if you can just rest. From I would tell everyone who has just written the exam to relax and stop reading for now. I'll be very honest with you. You deserve that break because what are you reading for now, in my opinion? Unless probably you had technical issues and you are going to resit the exam, But if you've just written the exam and there's been no problem, you are waiting for the results, bro, just relax. Just put those books in the shelf. Let them sit here. These are 400 most common questions from the ball business. You can see now a lot of them are resting there. So let your book, the statutes, just relax. And also, if you fail, you are not even sure if you want to resit the exam. What I'm going to tell you, we are in the sports industry, we are in the football industry. If a player misses a penalty, of course, he's going to take it again. So I, for one, I'm an example. I'm a living testimony. I always tell people I did the exam twice. Imagine if I failed then and I said, what, I'm not even writing this exam again. Probably I might not even be in the position to be doing this live with you or having these conversations with you. So I would say, of course, it's person specific. You should not close your curtains on wanting to take the exam again if the result doesn't favor you or if it's not what you're expecting. I would say you should still give it a go. And also, it depends on where you are as a person or who you are as a person and how important the license is to you doing your business or performing as an agent. There are a lot of people who have the license and they don't even use it. But there's always this common saying I say, or I like to say, I tell people, it's better you have something and you don't need it than you need it and you don't have it. So yeah, what do you think about somebody taking the exam again, middle? I know you got yours the first time you wrote the exam.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I love about football. It teaches us resilience. And, I recently saw a video of Cristiano Ronaldo where he said if he misses a penalty, he's definitely going to be the first person to stand there next time and say, I want to take this penalty. you know. So, yeah. So, I mean, we see examples like this, resilience, constant resilience in the football industry, something we see often. And it would be um, not too good. It would be not too good if you aspire to work in the sports industry and you haven't got that resilience. You need to build it. And I think this is the best time to build it. Because, like I said, the exam is probably the easiest thing you are going to do. Um, Going into the sports industry is the easiest thing you're going to do. So it's something you need to work on. If you don't have it right now, you need to build that resilience and let it flow through you. Because like I said, there are days where you'll be up hours. Trust me, I think thank God for this year. There are days you'll be up hours trying to come through certain transfers or the likes like that. It's a very stressful industry, but you need to build that resilience. So
And
if it
I
doesn't
was
go your
even
way, please take it.
yeah, I was even going to say, talking to people now, everyone listening to us, even as agents, resilient is an understatement as one of the characters that you need to build. Because Middle is the guy that does a lot of the client facing when we are speaking to our players. Of course, I keep in touch with our players, but Middle is always constantly, checking up on them and speaking to quite a lot of them. Yeah, Stanley wants to join this conversation. Tumisha, if you can bring Stanley on board. If you want to be part of this conversation, join the Ball Business Premium. We are happy to bring you live so you can ask your question. And you constantly have to, encourage your players when the striker is not scoring, when your player is injured. You as an agent, what do you say? So if one exam or failing two exams attempts is what is going to give you a step back or give up completely on your dreams, it might be harsh to say or might be very, very difficult to say you're not ready to do this business, in my opinion. In my opinion, you're not ready to do this business. I know it's exhausting, it's stressful, but you cannot give up and you should not give up in your first attempt. Tumisha, I don't know if you can bring Stanley in. Let's look at the second question that we've got. Stanley, how are you doing, brother? Okay, before Stanley comes in and is fully ready, let's see the second question.
Fumbi, I'm doing well. Thank you guys for all you're doing. Sorry. guys are amazing.
Thank you, brother.
And
Thank you.
even like what you said, I failed the exam last year, but thank God I came to meet you. Like I got finally discovered you, and I just want to encourage that guy. Let him continue to just give in the stay in, because if he's a football person, life is up and down. So let him stay in, and if he has the passion and the interest for the game, then I believe all things will work out well. So thank you, Fumbi. Thank you, Mido. You
You're
guys are
welcome.
doing a great job.
Thank you,
Thank you.
brother.
Thank you.
I would advise you stay with us, be part of the conversation for premium members. If you've got anything, you don't have to, go in and out of the studio. And also, it would be nice, let everybody see your beautiful face, your handsome face, rather. So, yeah, the second question from part of the questions we collated, it said, quick question. Can I actually register my company before I get the license? I do not want to jump the gun, but I also don't want to be scrambling when the result drops. Yeah, that's a very good way to prepare. And can I open a business account now? Midun, what was your take on this?
Not much. I was just going to say that in as much as I want to speak on this first, I would like to speak on that, before I do. But
Okay.
I'll be happy to speak on it since you already um, asked the question. Yeah, I think you can actually register your company before you get your license. There's no rule preventing you from registering your company. You know, there is no rule at all. I'm pretty sure Fumbi is going to give a perfect example for that, and I don't want to raise that example before he does. But you should have a
No,
registered
no, go ahead, my
address,
brother. Feel
a
free,
bank account.
trust me.
Talking about ball business itself, where we were doing just branding and marketing before we got our license. So there was no rule saying that we couldn't do branding and marketing, for players or for before getting our license. So yeah, you can start up your business, register your company. Is it going to be a sole trader or is it going to be a limited liability company? It's going to be a partnership with someone else. Do you have an email? Do you have, insurance? Things like that. And, it's funny because I think is like I said earlier, these are things that will help you move fast immediately you get your license. You don't have to wait to do them before you get your license. So yeah, you can have these things ready when you get your license. You just kick off and start moving. I guess business bank account, of course, you should have a business bank account. Don't wait till you get your license before you have a bank account. So I don't know if I no, I don't know. I know Fubi has something to say on this because we get
You
this
can't be
question
too sure.
very often.
Yes, we get this question quite a lot, and my honest opinion or my answers will always stay the same. If you're somebody that's been, having constant conversations with me, you will know where I stand when in regards to doing the proper thing, especially registering your business and treating this business as a business. If you follow our series, Agent versus the Agency, I'm sure the second episode is going to come out. What I'm talking throughout or talking about or preaching about in that series is make sure you treat this business as a business because it is a business. Treat your agency career as a business because it is a business. So while you're waiting for your results, or even for those of you who've gotten the license and you have not registered a company, I would advise you do that. And the reason is because a company is a separate entity. I'm not going to go into all those legal jargons, talking to you about trade, business, why a country, why a company is different from a person. But if there's anything you should take out from this conversation or from this answer is treat your business as a business. Remove yourself, remove your entity from that business. Remove Fumbi Ogufa from ball business, remove Mido Adebi from ball business. You know what I'm saying? So register your company always. So go ahead. If you're in the UK, I'm very conversant. I think to register a company now is £50. You do your ID verification. Once you do that, probably in 48 hours, the company is set up. You go and open bank account with Monzo. I wouldn't say you should join the high street banks like Deloitte and Barclays Bank because those ones can take some time. But once you open the Monzo or the Tide, you have your business account already. Go to someone who can do the website for you. And like I said, Let me even talk about BallBridge a little bit. Use BallBridge, going into the platform is a platform you can trust. It's been endorsed by us, signed by us, co-signed by us. You know, register there and start your company and do this business the proper way that it should be, because there's quite a lot of things that comes out from it if you have a business and you're not just doing the agency like your own. Let's give for example, you see Mino Raiola now, may he so rest in peace. If it was a one man business, like if it was just his own entity, it didn't have a corporate structure, that name would have died. But now it's no longer here with us. May so rest in peace. One of the best agents in the business, one of the guys that brought in the culture of agency. One of the reasons why me and you want to even be in the business in the first place. Is long gone and the business continues. Jogi Mendes is has his own agency and it's called Justifute. So of course you shouldn't wait before you register your business, and get into your website, get that digital footprint going on, and voila, the sky is the limit. I don't know if Stanley is still here. Yeah, Midu, what do you think? I'm sure you'll be able to agree on that before we move to the next question. Any comments?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think you covered it totally. And it's just the thing of being ready for when the opportunity comes. Because take for example, oh, sorry, huh? Take for example, you get your license and you need to then approach players. A lot of things that people don't tell you is that players also interview you when you approach them. They want to know you're ready, you can actually manage their brand. So if you are not able to manage your own brand, and say, okay, I have a brand, I have a company, I have this. You just seem like someone that is not, a serious individual to them. And they're like, yo, I think I better, go with someone that has. And, you know, it's something we spoke about at the conference about how agents need to also have that digital footprint. You know, if you search for your name, it should be able to come out, it should be able to come out on Google. What will come out on Google outside of your name on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and Instagram? You should have a footprint, something that they can, because trust me, they actually go and search for their agents. If you approach a player, they go and search for you online. What's this person? They check your LinkedIn, they check your Instagram, even your Facebook, because they want to know who they are dealing with. They want to know, can this person manage my brand? And if they see that your brand is shaking, they're like, So yeah, it's very important that you get started before, you know, register your company, get this foundational stuff, ongoing before you get your license.
The interesting part is, if you remember, maybe one of the early times when we started, uh, some companies, some brands, or other agents would not even want to do business with you if it's just your name. They want a corporate entity. Then, because we're naive. Of course, I've been working with as a lawyer, as an executive assistant with an agency in Dubai, then with United, quite a big, massive agency. Shout out to Andreja Kraujic. She was my boss, gave me the opportunity when I was still a very young lawyer. And you would see when we're talking about sponsorship, they wouldn't want to work with other, companies or single entity guys that they don't have a company, because that way you can write off tax, you could charge VAT, and a whole lot of other things. Then that's when you know that, okay, for you to be a business is actually very important. There are some deals or there are some amounts of money they will not want to discuss with you because you don't even have a business account in which they want to transact with. Let's even talk about the FIFA clearinghouse itself. Of course, this might not relate directly to the agent, but in terms of assessment, compliance assessment, and things like that, you see it. The company name has to be correct, this, and that. If you're an agent, start thinking as a business, because you're actually in the business. You're actually in the business. Of course, don't use ball business as your company's name because it's already taken and it's patent. Yeah. So, but yeah, guys, please go ahead and register your company. You don't have to wait, do the website, and always get in touch. Somebody on the comment sections, Alain, I see you, said, good to know. So that means as a complete new agent, you even advise to create an agency. Yes, of course, please. create your own agency, register it as a company. It's the best way to go. Stanley, any comments on this before we move to the next question?
I want to ask a question first because
Yes, go ahead.
you're just feeding us enough, and thank you because here in Canada I know that I can use it even to the write-off tax, like you said. So thank you for the information, and I'll pick it up. But if like you register the business and well, we'll pass the exam someday. So we'll pass the exam. So we are in it. We are not going anywhere. And I just sincerely, what I want to say is, I can't stop saying it. Thank you. You're doing a great job. And as like
Appreciate.
someone, I don't know the name. I can't get the name you called. The guy who brought you up. So we are people you carry along. Please don't leave us down because your success that you have been a great success is that you've brought in. You have people you have empowered. It's not about age or whatever. It's about what you have and you can give out to the people. It may be, sorry, I'm a Christian. We talk about Jesus now because he impacted a lot of people and is continuing. So we trust that you will, a lot of us will build up from what you're doing. But this is really good and I'm learning a lot.
I appreciate. Thank you so much, Stanley. And if you see what Stanley is saying, Mido already mentioned it. We didn't even have the license when we started BallBusiness. It was a sports marketing company. So we didn't even have the license before we started the BallBusiness because it was more of like legal consulting, advisory, sports and marketing company. We do a little bit of brand sponsorship. Like there's Evolution Cup, which was the biggest in Nigeria. Yeah, we did all the branding back to back 2 years, which took out a lot of massive talent in terms of legal representation. We were already working in the background, and a lot of these were coming to us like, you know what, bro, let's just get our license and take it to the next stage. So I have had a lot of companies. So if you check, Mid, what's this guy's company that are doing the branding for
So,
CES?
um,
Their color
branding
is
process,
yellow. Yes, they're
origin,
rooted in the game.
oh, rooted in
Rooted
the
in the
game, yeah,
game.
yeah,
Yes, rooted
yeah.
in the game is also a very massive company. Young chaps. If you can check their Instagram, sports marketing branding, and they're looking into agency as well. So to register your company should not even be a question. Should not be something you should second guess. But yeah, let's look at the third
But before we
question.
go to the next question, I want
Yes.
to point something out quickly because I know it will seep into the third question. In as much as we're saying, oh, register your company, register your business, please do not perform football agent services without your license. So there are two different things. So don't go and say, oh, Bob business said we could. Yeah, there are two different things. Yeah, don't perform football agent services without a license. So you can set up your business. I give an example. We were already, in branding and marketing. That is not necessarily, a football agent service. So please, 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 and please don't mix it up.
Don't mix,
Don't
yeah.
represent a player. Yeah, don't represent a player without your license because that's a big regulatory issue. You know.
And you don't
So
lose the
yeah, I
license
think we could
before
go
you
to
get it.
yeah. So I think we could go to the next question.
Yeah. Tunk is here. Hi Tunk, how you doing? Thank you, brother. The next question says, there's a young player at my local academy who is really talented. I've been talking to him and his family for a while and they trust me. I am not licensed yet, but the relationship is real. Am I crossing a line? I think, Mido, you should just build up on this since you already started talking about that in the last question before I come in.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Um, so like I said, never perform agent services without a license because you're risking your license application itself. And for those of us that were with us, you would know that I always emphasize on how to differentiate between agency services and other services. And I've always said that agency services are, services that lead to a transaction. And the FFAR has already defined what a transaction is. And for me, I'm going to summarize all the four or five instances into one. anything that is going to ensure a player or a coach is signed, um, or anything that is ensuring that relates to the interaction between a player or coach and the club. That's a transaction for me. So agency services could be negotiating contracts, organizing trials, you representing in transfers, approaching clubs on behalf of a player. So in this instance, what I could advise to this person is you could be a friend to the family, you could be a mentor, you could give general life advice. You know, that is not violating the agreement. Now, because if the player, for example, now if he's a minor, you can't represent him even when you have your license without doing the mandatory test to enable you to represent a minor. And the idea is this: before you become an agent, whether the player is a minor or a just a young player, you could just be his friend, be the family's friend, be a mentor. Do not in any way discuss, oh, I'm going to represent you when I get my license. Never bring that up. Don't suggest, oh, let's go to this club. Don't introduce them to clubs. Do not in any way imply that you are going to be their agent. Because the thing is this: once you do that, you're already entering and crossing the line. You're already entering into becoming an agent, being or performing football agent services. So obviously, there's always the risk that if you sign with someone, that's the truth, because I'm pretty sure some people will be like, oh, so what if they sign with someone before I get my license? That's the truth. There's a risk. But there's also a risk that if you introduce them to a club or perform football agent services, you could lose your license. So the question to you would be, is the risk of losing your license worth the risk of losing just one client? To me, it's not worth it. So what I advise to the person is be a mentor. You can give general life advice, but don't discuss anything football agent services until you get your license and you are able to represent that player. Because remember, if it is a player under 18, you cannot even approach them until 6 months before they are able to sign their first professional contract. So the harsh truth is, please don't do it. Be their mentor, but don't in any way perform football agent services. I'm really begging right now because a lot of people this advice usually fall on deaf ears, and when the repercussions come, they are always livid. Why can't we represent them? But the rule is the rule, and in law we say ignorance is not an excuse. So please, 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 and please, you can be a mentor, you can be a friend, and if you lose the player to another agent, it's fine. I mean, it's even just 2 years. You know, it's fine. You always get, because trust me, there are more than enough clients in the industry. There are more than enough clients in the industry. So don't let me speak too much. I want for you to also talk about this.
For me, I like sharing real life examples or real life scenarios, albeit, would not have to mention name based off of confidentiality. But not once, not twice, people did not or were not allowed to write the exam by FIFA because of these instances of them performing or impersonating to be agents. It's even common with our friends in the US, in America, where they say probably they are in the NFL and they say football agent. True story. This person needed we had to advise them to tell FIFA that is a football agent. Football in US is called soccer before he was able to write his exam. In probably in Nigeria, my lovely country where we come from, those things might not really hold water because there's no registration, there's no way to trace that you've been doing that before. But if you're in England, even if you're volunteering as a coach, this happened to a parent. He was volunteering as a coach and he was not allowed to write the exam. So talk more of impersonating or talking to the players in the academy and already behaving or performing agent services. If you are not caught, it does not mean that others are not being caught. People steal every day or people do a lot of things every day because we don't hear about them does not mean it doesn't happen. So I'll still stick to the advice that Mido has given. Don't perform agent services if you are not licensed. You can be a mentor, of course. A lot of the young guys, you can even buy boots for the guys on the street. Just encourage them, but just let them know. Even be clear with them and give them advice. Say, you know what, I'm going to get my license soon. Then probably then I can now do this. But let the conversation, let the communication be clear. Before Per, thank you, brother. Marcel said, "What if after your business registration?" That's talking about the second question. What if after a business registration, then you fail the exams? What becomes of your company? If you are just joining us, the question was, can I or should I register my company before I get the license? What I always tell people is, when you even want to register your company as an agent, or when you want to act as an agent, a lot of guys that are in our mentorship class, one of the things I tell them in those 6 months is, have a big scope, have a larger than life scope of agency. Ball Business is an agency. We do legal services. We own softwares. We do conferences. So even if we don't have our licenses, we organize tournaments, in terms of branding and marketing. We do other services which are not even agent services. So I want to believe that some of us are accountants, some of us are fitness trainers, some of us are lawyers, some of us are in other industries. Some of us are even musicians. Some of us are real estate brokers. So, and these are the services you will even be offering your players when you become licensed. So, if you don't get a license now and you already registered your company, that's if you don't want to wait, or if you have the means to, start doing those things, you can pivot. So, for example, I think 2 years ago, one of our very good students, he owns a gym. He's a body what do they call these guys? Body fitness consultant.
Yeah.
And he does massages. Okay, one of my mentors own a physiotherapy uh company in London, in South London, around Bromley. And they massage players, they do a whole lot of things. So let your company be of a larger scope. Don't restrict it to other agencies. And that's why we will see a lot of our mentors, the people we look up to, could so good. From agency, he is a lawyer, then now he's a director in DC United. So, like I said, the license, guys, trust me, is the easiest part of this job. So if you register your company, look at it from a larger than life scope. There's a whole lot of things that as an agent, you can carry multiple bags, you can wear different hats and still do the business. This person said, wait, I can't even coach in a school that's not even affiliated to any member association competitions. That's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? That's a different ball game. If you are volunteering, you just need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So, for example, if you are just coaching in a school that is not affiliated, and on your bio, probably on LinkedIn or somebody that is carrying out your checks, and you put it there, I'm a coach, I'm a football coach. Bro, you being a football coach, are not going into details as to what you are actually. So while they are doing those checks, they could misappropriate that or misinterpret that to be that you are an actual coach with actual CAF C or CAF B or UFIA or UFIB license. This person that didn't write the exam did not even have any coaching course. He did not even have any coaching certificate. He's volunteering in a place where his son plays football, and because they checked, because it's in England, so you'll be registered, you have to do your DBS, so to work with kids, so that information will be with the FA. So when they checked, he just couldn't qualify to write, and by the time he was able to reply to FIFA and explain, the time frame had already gone. So we just
Oh,
need to be
sorry,
explicit.
Funke.
It's a case by case issue.
I'm,
Yes, brother, please go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to just drop something about this coaching issue. So the thing is, I want us to realize that the people behind the regulatory department of FIFA, they are humans. They would work with what they see online, the information they're able to get about you. And like Fumbi said, it is now up to you to, it is now up to you to now say, okay, I can prove beyond reasonable doubt that I am eligible to write the exams. Now I'll give you a instance. We had someone, I think that was probably last year or this year, I can't really remember, that said that his his application was rejected because he was a coach. That was the reason they gave him. Now he was a volunteer coach, but the club listed him as a coach on their platform, on their website. He was listed as an employee, as a coach. Meanwhile, they don't pay him. It's just a local team. He just volunteers because his kids play football. This is even someone different than because I know the person from who he's talking about, but this is someone different, you know. And he tried to explain to them that, oh, I'm just a volunteer. But you're listed, you know, you're listed. So it's more of not that you can't, but you have to be able to defend yourself, and say, okay, I'm not this. But the truth is, one thing I always advise people to do is when you're applying, just resign from all these things to avoid issues where you have to go back and forth, back and forth. It's better to have a peace of mind. You have peace of mind that, oh, you are safe concerning any checks than to leave it in the hands of other people. Put your faith in your hands. Don't leave it in the hands of other people. That's something I always live by. And for the exams or for the industry, I would want you guys to also look at it that way also. Your fate is in your hands. Do not for any reason leave it to chance with other people. So BN facts, I think we've been able to answer that.
Yeah.
But Fumbi, before we go on, I
Yes.
can see the agency connect raise the question
Okay, go
for
ahead.
you.
Let's answer his question.
Okay. So it says, what if you are a local representative of an actual licensed agent in an area and reach out to clubs on his behalf? Eventually, when the contracts get signed, your name is not mentioned in any document. Well, to be fair, your name is not supposed to be mentioned in in a contract between an agent and a player. To be honest, if you check the
I think, Mido, if you permit me, I think
okay,
the the very first fault will lie with the actual agent itself. Let's be honest. There are instances where you know the rules. You've written the exam. Obviously, you pass because you know the rules of the FFAR. You cannot send somebody, your company secretary, to perform agent services on your behalf. So
one
if
approach.
somebody is already sending you to do that, even to approach a player and things like that, then the person is breaking the rule. So you can't say you are a local representative of an actual licensed agent in an area and reach out to clubs on his behalf. You understand? If you are a scout in a club, it's a different ball game, and if you are a voluntary scout too, it's a different ball game. But these things are case by case issues. But in terms of your name going on a contract when they sign and things like that, your name, even at all, if your name would be there, that agency's name should be there as well to sign, to countersign. Probably maybe you as the player liaison officer or something. And that might also count, to be honest, if you are being reported or if they find out, and probably that might not even allow you to write your exam. And like Midun said, the guys in the guys in the FIFA headquarters, they are humans like us. They will deal with the fact that is presented to them. So yeah.
Zoom Africa
So
says he or she wrote the exam today.
yes, some people have been giving new dates. And Ugochukwu say, wow, we have to be careful. I'm volunteering as a coach with athletes in action. Also have a sports or soccer NGO in Nigeria. What are the implications for the NGO? They said organized football or organized competition, to be honest. And for you to participate in organized football, that means your NGO should be affiliated to your state FA, which your state FA is affiliated to your association FA. Association FA is affiliated through FIFA. So if it's just an NGO thing and raising funds, and I believe that should not count. But of course, don't, like I said, if you are doing an NGO, it should be explicitly stated, probably in your status or any public references where your name is attached. So don't coach an NGO and say, oh, a coach of something, something, without being explicit. So if it's not organized football like the way I've just explained or the way FIFA has explained, I think a whole lot of things that you need to do. Yeah, because of time, let's go to the next questions. There are a lot of questions, and like I said, if you want to be part of the conversation, you want to come live, like you saw Stanley is part of our premium member, you can join, and we really sincerely appreciate. So next question. Next question. What's the next questions? Let's look at what that looks like. Everyone keeps saying build your personal brand on LinkedIn, but I feel like a fraud posting when I'm not officially an agent yet. What am I supposed to even post about? And won't people see straight through it? Um, I think this is a very interesting question. Do you want to go first to hear
I
your?
mean, now that I was laughing when I saw the question because I mean, it's actually very interesting. So it's something like this. I'll start from this angle. When I was still in college, studying as a lawyer or as a law student, I always told people that you should be more than your law degree. You know, there is more to you than your law degree, and I think it's the same thing with being an agent. As an agent, there is more to you than being an agent. Yeah, you can build a personal brand, but for me, I always believe, yeah, you can build a personal brand on the agency aspect, but you as yourself, you as an individual, you are a brand. You're an aspiring agent. You can, post on what's going on in football. Your thoughts on agency trends. I mean, Song just posted that the legal journal is out. Yeah, perfect, wonderful news. You can go through it and put your post on it. That's building your personal brand. And when you eventually become an agent, you say you could end the post with, I'm an agent and I represent players, etc, etc. Bam. When you're not an agent, you can just remove that part. So don't confine yourself, don't confine your thinking into a box. And it also goes in line with the question that we answered earlier on, can I create my own company? You know, Even before you took the exams, you were doing something, whether or not it was related to football. If it was related to football, perfect. You know, if you are, for example, you're a physiotherapist, you could talk about how physiotherapy is linked to football. There are so many topics, content. There are so much content, and obviously, I didn't want to say this, but it's something that we could help you on with Ballbridge. You could sign up for the social media dossier. They could give you content that you could post, just content for you. But the truth is, don't even box yourself. Don't box your thinking into thinking that you can't make posts, you can't do anything related to football until you're an agent. Nah, if you wait till that time, before you know it, you're left behind, and um, you might be a bit late to now start kicking off and doing. Nah, it's not advisable. I wouldn't advise that. So start small. Talk about physiotherapy. Talk about how um, players are increasingly having a lot of injuries, a lot of hamstring injuries. I'm dropping premium content here, so if you use my content, be sure to give me a shout out. So
you know, yeah.
yeah, so no, but yeah, you should look beyond you as an agent. You are much more than an agent. You know, you are now in the football industry and should begin to think that way. So from there, I would like to also hear what you have to say.
You know where I stand, and a lot of people know where I stand on this. The word says personal brand, you know, and you don't have to feel like a fraud when you're doing something personal. So this is me, this is Fumbi. So that's why sometimes I can wear a cap to do this. I can wear my glasses. I can do this content this way. I don't have to, because this is me. This is who I am. That is what a personal brand should be like. That is what a personal brand should be. It is gotten from the word personality, from the word personify. It is about you. You need to be authentic about it. I'm going to go to the second thing where you said, won't people see straight through it? If you fake it, people will see straight to it. If you fake it, people will see straight to it. And I would not even advise you to build a personal brand and start faking or being overly too nice or be overly too conscious or something. It's just you being you. It's just you being you because is by the time you start faking it and then it's no longer a personal brand, then that means it's another person's brand. So we always think personal brand, we try to magnify the word to begin to mean what it doesn't mean, right? So I want you to embody whatever you're doing, be it a physiotherapy, be it a gym enthusiast, be it a financial accountant, anything. Personify that into your company, into your agency, into your style. Look at Daniel G, because I like to buy a lot of books written by agencies. I think I'm going to show you guys one here in my library. Okay, this is Daniel G. This is Daniel G. Build the Invisible. If you can read this book, I'm promoting this book. Is you know Daniel G. He's a very big agency here in London. He also owns a 13th, quite big. It's then with America. So good. If you read this book, it will actually help you in answering that question. So now, still talking about personal brand. This is somebody in the community. I bought his book. It was one of our students, and we're discussing. And for some reason, there's this aura about him that I like a lot. Victor Eime. I'm sure he didn't tell me to do this, bro. I'm promoting your book, so I want to say thank you in the group. So this is Victor, and he wrote a book. This is part of building a personal brand. And what if you've read his book, is a very interesting book because he is an ex-footballer and it was his story. He personified it into this book. And if he's going to build his company or his agency, he's going to be around this. That is what personal brand is about. So for you now to now say probably you want to feel like a fraud or you want people to see straight through you, then that means you're not doing something personal. And of course, now let's go to the imposter kind of syndrome kind of stuff. That are you good enough to do what you're doing? This is why I always tell people, don't come here or don't start showing or start forming expertise on things that you don't know. That's when people will begin to see through you. So personal brand does not actually even mean only on the agency side of things. I met a guy in October when we went to the African Football Business Summit in East Africa in I think October last year. And he asked me the same question. The guy now is gone for speaking on intellectual property. I'm sure if he's listening to me, bro, you know I'm talking about you. And he spoke about this things, and I told him, you know what, if you go on LinkedIn, you are very versatile in this conversation. We're just having a conversation, and I think I even spilled his tea that morning during that breakfast meeting when we are having that conversation. So, and I told him, okay, you know what, go on LinkedIn. This wonderful ideas you're talking about, just put it there and you won't believe it. He's been invited for like two or three speaking gig based off of that in building his personal brand, talking about the things he knows, the things that he's comfortable on. So your personal brand should be something they wake you up about. So let's say you are in finance, start talking about accounting and how it relates to the business itself. So for myself and Midun, we are lawyer by expertise, so it's easy for us to talk about these sort of things. And for me, for you guys that don't know, I have my master's in football business. So it's easy for me to talk about business and football itself because that's what I actually studied in school at the FBA. So don't feel like an imposter syndrome. All of us does feel that. But what will also help you is to actually make the brand personal from the word personal brand. Before we go ahead, I can see some questions. Let's look at, I think,
Yeah,
sprint.
but
That should
sorry,
be
Fumbi,
two.
before you
Yes.
continue, sorry, Fumbi, before you
Yeah.
continue, there's something I just want to add to it, and I want to lay the groundwork for something I feel we're still going to discuss later with
Yeah.
everyone. Um, Personal brand. I think when even discussing that, you need to sit down and think about what do you want for your brand? How do you want your brand to look like? And it's something I know we're still going to discuss later um, someday. So, you guys just stay tuned to Ball Business Explains. We'll try our possible best to, explain some of these things and give you guys insight into some of these
Yeah.
things. Just wanted to just chip that in so that they can be expectant and know that, okay, because I have a feeling that somebody might drop into the comment and say, "Yeah, how you build your personal
Personal
brand."
brand.
So I'm just trying to preempt that, you know. And yeah,
Thank you, brother. If you have questions, this is how this episode works or this series works. If you're in the premium, you can join the conversation live. We always send a link to the WhatsApp group in that community. And if you have any questions, just send it to our emails, send it to us in the DMs so we collate them. So this is going to happen every 2 weeks. And there's a series, Agent versus the Agency. I'll be talking about businesses, just business on building your agent and building your own agency. We dropped the first episode, which says we've shot like 4 or 5 episodes now, but Tumshe will be dropping them in series. So let's go to the comment section because this one's supposed to be 90 minutes and we are doing 55 minutes already. If I can't pass the exam, what service? Yes, thank you, Tumshe. What services an aspiring agent can provide to an agency? I would always say you should do the services that relate to your expertise or what you want to be in future. But be careful of not impersonating or performing agent services. For example, if you are in the media space, is Tumishe, shout out to you, is the guy behind our production, all our YouTube, and is working with an agency. A lot of you know Esther if you're very conversant with us, if you're in our mentorship class, if you bought some of our book. That's Esther. She's our client support person, head of clients, and she speaks to a lot of our customers. So that's working with an agency. If you're a lawyer, you could work as a lawyer in the agency. Also, to be honest, if you're a scout, scout is different from performing agent services. You could scout for agents, is allowed, guys. So the thing that is not allowed is for you to perform agent services, and that is doing anything towards facilitating a transaction, concluding a transaction. So that is probably impersonation is the biggest deal, or moving to client and saying, okay, you know what, we are going to represent you. Leave that to your agent. You can identify a player and say, the game I went to yesterday, the agent, please, Fumbi, this also player, if you can approach him, good. So, and you can see, you can stay in the background and listen and see how these things are done. Some of our one-to-one mentorship class, I bring some of the guys that are interning with us. We have people from the University of Sheffield. We have people from the University of Ibadan. We have people from universities in Kenya as well. And sometimes we bring them on meetings. For me, I like to do that a lot. Middle does that as well to mentor them. So these are works that you can be doing in the background uh, while you're waiting for your license or if you want to help agents. A whole lot of these big agencies, they have content creators, they have accountants, and the rest of you. Um, Somebody said, what's the next question? How important is scouting in agency? Okay. I am nowhere as a coach. Okay. Tumshek, please can you bring yeah? I'm nowhere as a coach and I've refused any membership to the association, stating that I just need that certificate. I am nowhere as a coach and I've refused any membership to the
I
association.
think he was just talking about because he was the one that was talking about being a coach, and this he was just
Okay.
stating his current situation. So I don't think that's a question.
Oh, okay.
I
Oh,
think the
okay.
next question
Brilliant.
is how important is scouting for in agency business? That is by the agency connect. How important is scouting in agency business?
Do you want me to answer that,
Ah,
bro, or you go?
yeah, I think you should.
For me, scouting is one of the most important job. Although the way a lot of agents do it, by the time you are big in the, by the time you are popular, let me use that word, not big. By the time you are popular in your niche, because also we always preach something as well. You work with strikers. For us, mostly, most of our players are attackers. People begin to bring them to you. You see, so that's the kind of quasi scouting. Because once they know you're an agent now, you have your license. Trust me, a lot of people will be sending you profiles. So that is still part of scouting. But it's also nice to work with people that know their onions, that already know what scouting is about. So those guys too are very important in your business. Because, for example, somebody can just come up with you with an opportunity to say, oh, Tunk, oh, Stanley, do you have this profile? This club needs this profile. this young, and if you are not working with any scout or you don't have any relationship with any scout, it might be difficult for you to be able to deliver those sort of uh profiles. And trust me, the most lucrative opportunity in the business are the ones you didn't even plan for. I know one of our biggest deals, I think 2 years ago, was it just came to our plate and they just said, "Oh, please, this," and we were able to plug in. So you need those sort of people in your corner. You might not necessarily employ one directly, but probably on a commission based level. And it's very, very important because the competition is so massive. You need someone to sieve the talents for you and say, "Oh, this one is not good, this one is good," even in terms of height. And as agents, just take those little PFSA scouting courses, introduction to scouting, so that you even know yourself what you're looking at in player. So I would say for me, it's very, very important. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say probably around 7 to 8. What other question?
Okay. I think what you said was lovely, but Pearl also has another. Okay.
Scenario. I'm in
Okay.
Uganda and we'll be getting the FUFA beginners coaching certificate next week for me to work in schools, but we discontinue prior to the exam application. Yeah. That's good. Uh,
No, I think this is
you
a good
can go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the question is this.
Yeah, we've
So
answered
the
how
other guy's
important is
question.
scouting in agency business. So I think we should go to the questions that we have. Like I said, if you want to
There's
be
one
part of this
on the
conversation.
screen, maybe.
Okay. I'll be
Says
getting the
I'll be
Uganda
getting.
Federation course coaches. It is important for me to apply to schools, like I said, and will discontinue completely prior to the application exam. Any advice? Um, my advice would be which one is most important to you, to be very honest, and how is record keeping in your country. Like I said, if it's in some countries, you might get away with it, but if it's in countries in which will be linked to the association, you might be surprised that that might be the reason why your application would not be approved. So if the agency is so important to you, I will advise that you just leave that and focus on you becoming an agent, or have a discussion with the school and do it in a voluntary way. I think that way you kill two birds with one stone. Tell the school or tell the organizations your aspirations and how it will even be beneficial to them in future. So that way you can still continue as your coach, but in a voluntary way, not in an organized competition kind of sports event, and you can still prepare your license. That would be the advice I would give to you. First is to see which one is most important to you, and if you have to coach at all, and because who says you cannot eat fried rice and jollof rice? Like we always say, yeah. So, but just let's communicate that clearly, but don't go into anything so official in the coaching. Probably do it voluntarily.
Sorry. While I'll post the next question, I just want to say if you're eating jollof rice, try Nigerian jollof. It's the best.
Yeah, Anthony, shout out to you. I was going to call you. So sorry. I don't know. Midwin, did you reach out to Anthony?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Um,
Please, let's do.
but I'll definitely do that. Yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
Anthony.
So
Yes, so I'm
Anthony
projecting a
said,
question now. Okay.
yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So before Anthony, there's a question.
Okay. What if you are in another what if you are in the another country, say UK? However, you don't want to focus on that area, you just want to work in Africa. Is it okay to still run your operations in your country of domicile? Uh, I would say for me, in terms of registering a business, should be where you are more conversant with the rules concerning corporate affairs in the country. So, for example, let's say I'm based there in England and I know I've got a lot of opportunities in Cameroon. Trust me, I'm not going to register my company in Cameroon because I really don't know so much about their corporate law there. A lot of people who perform businesses probably in Dubai or in other countries aside from where their domicile is because they understand the tax intricacies, the laws surrounding corporation there. The beautiful thing about football is global. And that's why, if you remember, if you are a licensed agent, you can once you have the FIFA license certificate or the number, you can operate everywhere in the world. So registering your company in a place where you are domiciled or where most of your businesses will be conducted should be based on the operation or your understanding of the corporate laws and issues there, the tax system and those things there. So that is it. And also, there's I don't want to go into a lot of legal nuances. You can register your company here and register in in another company as well, in a different under a different tax bracket. Even in the UK, if you are registered, they will ask you, do you have other branches everywhere? So that's a kind of corporate thing, and it should be more of like a mentorship kind of class where, or just send us a DM. We'll be able to look at your specific case, then give you the best advice going forward. It says, which sector is more lucrative for an agent? Focus on already established players or focus on grassroots players on the verge of can I see the question again? On the verge to pro contract. Okay, let's paint a real life scenario question here. Which is more lucrative for an agent? Focus on already existing players. Is it depends. It depends. And when you say lucrative, lucrative means profit, cost to profit margin in terms of business. So if it's going to cost you $10 to reach, we are all going to, all of us in the agency business, we are all going from point A to point B. So what makes something lucrative is how much it costs each and every individual to spend from getting to that point A or point B. So this one and this one. So what costs you to get to this full bottle of water is what determine which whether your business model is lucrative or not. So now let's go back to the established players or the pro players. I want us to paint real life scenarios. I don't want us to look at things from a point of view of guessing or saying things. First of all, if you are a new licensed agent, the already established players, oftentimes than not, the ones that will actually make you that money you said is going to be lucrative, they are already snatched up with other agents. Unless probably you have contacts or connections, because there are quite a lot of people that are like ex-footballers, they have contacts, ex-directors as well, ex financiers. If you don't know, there are a lot of financiers in football that they have business dealing with sporting directors, so they're already established in those leagues or in those countries. So if you are that sort of person and you have that real connections, you might just get into the business and speak to already established players that want to move to those clubs, and you have opportunities to do that. So your profit margin will be different from somebody who has got no connections to do that. So, for example, let's say you're an ex-footballer, you've just finished playing for a football club. Of course, you have good relationship with that club, and you know a player who is not happy where he is or needs a better deal, and you know that opportunities are available where you're coming from. You just go to the player. If it's with an agent exclusive, you get a mandate. If it's not, you tell him, you know what, let me sign you up. I can put you to this deal. So you're already making money immediately. So that way, your business model aligns. But if you are somebody like yourself, if you are somebody like me and you, who started from brick by brick, working his way up, I would advise on that sort of business model. It will be very difficult for you because you don't have the contacts, you don't have the connections in those clubs where you can actually put those players. It would be nice to work your way up, look at those non-established players, those guys that will be loyal to you. And that's why we said you still need to work with maybe a scout, get that raw talent that oh, this one is special. Hold on to that person, and trust me, just build it 2 3 windows in, that guy can start fetching you money. So in terms of which one is more lucrative, it's a situation of who you are as a person, what contacts do you have, what connections do you have, where are you based. It's a person specific question. You cannot blanket cross that sort of question. So you need to look at yourself and the sort of network you have. Yeah, this is from my brother. As an ex-professional footballer, please throw some light on how to build a brand and networking ahead of operating as an agent. This is a very interesting perspective because as an ex-professional, you already have that kind of brand pool. I want to believe a lot of ex-professionals, they already have media trainings, how to speak to medias. They've already done some things that a lot of us did not have opportunities to do unless probably you went to a business school or a media school or a marketing school. So this will be my advice. It will still be person specific as well. What sort of brand do you want to build? I'm going to give you a scenario. Michael Richards immediately finished playing football. He retired at the age of 31, but he has stopped playing at the age of 29 because he was injured. He already knew what he was going to do. So he started pivoting into the media space. He started building a personal brand as a pundit. So some ex-players, they want to own academies, and you can see the way they move. We have players like Kai Walker, who has his own academy in Sheffield, and you can see him doing a whole lot of things. There are ex-footballers who want to build tech companies, and they start pivoting to that space in terms of personal brand. So you can see John Mikel Obi as well in terms more like Michael Richards personal brand with the Obi-Wan podcast. So in building your personal brand, of course, this is our product. I might say probably we go on Ball Bridge, we speak on some of these things because by the time you sign up on Ball Bridge, once you pick that dossier, you have the opportunity. Then we talk about what is specific to you and your how you want that journey to be. But on a blanket advice to everybody or everybody who is an ex-player who wants to build a personal brand, my advice for you is to pick that niche in which you are most interested, most comfortable. Remember the word personal. For example, now that I want to do this video, not that I can't do this live with any other person, but the people in the company already knows me. If Tumishe is not the person behind the production, I'm not so comfortable, or not that I can't do it, but I just enjoy it because we there's the synergy that comes to it. So, and those little things affect the way I present. It affects my mood. So one of the things I even advise people when it comes to personal brand are those even little things that you might think are not important, and say, okay, you know what? I don't want you to. The first question I ask you, okay, what are you looking up to? And I'm going to reverse engineer that. And they tell me, oh, I want to be like this person. I said, okay, if you are not this person, what would you now be? Then you see that question, then they now start talking about themselves. Then I'll say, okay, you know what? This one is the way we are going to do it. So in terms of building personal brand, whether you're an ex-player, whether you're an ex-agent or anything, or you want a new agent, it has to be personified. And Antonio, I'm going to reach out to you myself and Midu, and we'll take this question forward. And like I said, if you have more questions, because we might not be able to answer everyone, we still have questions in our emails we have not treated. And if you want to even come live and join this conversation, join the Ball Business Premium, send us an email, send your questions to us. Every two weeks, we have this sort of discussion. Next question, Unforgotten. We want to register a group of companies. Can this group run an academy and a football agent as subsidiaries? I think I've been talking for quite a lot. Midun, please, do you want to answer Godson? Godson is a big friend of the community.
Yes,
Shout out to you, Godson.
super. Okay. I would advise them not to do that. I would advise them not to do that because there will be so much legal compliance issues in relation to this. Because normally, an agency or an agent is not supposed to have legal connections with an academy. So, an example could be someone that owns an agency, that has shares in an agency, should not have shares in an academy. And these are things that you'd also see in in the FFAR. So if you are trying to create a group that would run an academy and a football agency, you have to pick one of them, or probably some other guys in that group, would split and say, okay, you know what, we are going to focus on creating subsidiaries, and then you can maybe have just communications with them, nothing legal, nothing joining or connecting you guys legally together. No one that owns or has shares in a football agency can have shares in an academy. So that is fundamental. That is something that is the foundation of the
Right.
FFAR. And once they see, yeah, once they see that there's that connection, they flag you and they're like, yo, especially if you are in, countries that have very good systems. The English FA would flag it and communicate it to FIFA because it's something they even mentioned at the recent conference that they are in regular communications with FIFA. They have a list of agencies, they have a list of names. So once they see that there is something conflicting or in conflict with FIFA's rules, they send it directly to FIFA that, oh, we've seen this, we flagged it, check this out. And then FIFA starts their investigations. And it's the same way, in other countries. So we wouldn't advise you to do that in any way. Before I go on, I can see Victosa saying, "Do you have the Burbage app on Google Play Store?" No, it's not on Google Play Store, but
I
it's called.
Victor, I've shown the whole world your book, and I think I should introduce you to Anthony. Victor is an ex-player, guys, and yeah, see your book. Sorry, I told them you didn't send me, and I'm happy that you're even on live and asking questions. That's the guy who's wrote this book. Yeah, we'll speak on Ball Bridge afterwards. Me too. Apologies. I needed to just do that.
Problem. You can just, I think the link to Ballbridge is on the group chat. It says app.ballbridge.com. So it's for now, it's a web app. You could download the web app extension on your Chrome browsers and the likes like that. I think we should go into the next question. It
Yes.
says, uh, people from different countries. I think this is Tunk. It says people from different countries start approaching me, coaches, players, because they want to play or coach in Istanbul. Do you think they're trying to bait me to report me after? Uh, I think your question sort of answers it, and I don't think you should uh, offer agency related services if you are not an agent yet. Wait until you become an agent because trust me, these people will still be there. There are so many potential clients available. And I know that we constantly also mention this that we, for example, it's not everyone that approaches us that we take. In fact, we reject most people that approach us to represent them because of a lot of things. You might not fit our personal brand, you might not fit the profile we're looking for, and the likes like that. So I think one of the most important things, even operating as an agent or as an agency is to have the ability to say no. you know, to have the ability to say no. I'm sorry. Uh, well, I can keep your profile, but right now we will not be able to help you. There are so many ways you can disguise no. You don't have to say no. There's so many ways you can disguise no without just putting the person off or sounding rude. If you feel that at that point in time you can't, which right now you can't because you're not yet an agent, you know. But once you become an agent, it's also something you guys need to think about. You don't accept everyone. You don't take in things you can't handle because in the long run you are damaging your reputation. They'll just and the football industry is a small world. It's a big world, but it's a very small world also. You hear rumors like, oh, Mr. A, that's how he signs players. He doesn't even do anything for them. Just leaves you. So you need to have the ability to say no, please. Uh, I don't know if Obi has anything to say on that.
Yeah,
Mm,
my contribution will be yes, people can actually bait you. Like I said, you'll be surprised. The guys in FIFA, they see everybody's post on LinkedIn. They see what we post online. They even watch our webinars. They see a whole lot of us guys. And I think we should be very, very careful. I'm not saying they're out there wanting to, set traps for us or uh, make us scapegoats or something. But trust me, they're all humans. If you can't check your LinkedIn, they're also checking their LinkedIn. I remember going to a conference in Lobro in London some few months ago. I sent the pictures to Midu, and you'll be surprised the guys from FIFA that were there. and they start telling you things that you don't even believe that they see. So yeah, some people might be there just baiting you. I'm not saying it happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think it should be something we should be very, very cautious about, especially knowing that FIFA don't even want people to be agents. It's just obvious. It's very surprising when people say, "Oh, really?" Yeah, of course. Because if everybody can be an agent, why do we have to write this so much rigorous exam and things like? But like I said, um, just be very, very careful. Just be very, very careful. The sort of deals that you're going into, the sort of approaches that you'll be making yourself. And like I always say, something, whatever would keep you up at night, try as much as possible not to do it. There's a whole lot of deals that will come. Whether you get your license now, tomorrow, next tomorrow, players will not finish as long as football still going on. Yeah. And you're welcome, Godson. I saw you said thank you. You're very welcome, my brother. You're welcome as well, Tony. So it says, what are the pros and cons of being a solo agent versus working for a remote agency? Um, like I said, we're doing a series, agent versus the agency. These are some of the things that I already said there, but let me just answer your question quickly. What I'm going to ask you, what is the pro for already working with somebody experienced? Is that they are able to show you ways and ropes. For example, if you're already working with an agency, you already know the sort of contracts, even templates. That's why even on Bridge, the free resources are templates, contract templates. You don't need to scramble. You understand the nuances in deals. You start understanding the differences between what is in the book and what is applicable in real life. The pro of working with an agency as well is big. You can start building your contacts from those agencies. So, for example, if you work with BallBusiness, sometimes you now start having to front face some of our clients. So now you start gaining reputation as well. So they know you, you are a familiar face. You can learn while in the background. You can see the mistakes they are making, so you don't have to make them. And if you have questions to ask, you're asking somebody who is credible. Then in that way, you can take those knowledge. That is the pro of working with an agency. The pro of working alone is you can now dictate your own pace. And of course, another pro is money. They pay you. Of course, I want to believe that if you're working for an agency, you should get paid for doing so. If you're working with an agency and they don't pay you, please don't do it. Don't let anybody gaslight you into experience without pay. It's not the way to go, guys. So of course they pay you. So you can, save money, earn money while you do other things. If you are working for yourself, which is very interesting, the pro is you're already establishing yourself as a brand, as a business. The best way to learn is through experience. You know what you're supposed to do. What you When you make a mistake, you learn from it. And three, which for me is very good, is you can, while making those mistakes, you make them very fast, but you can make a lot of good decisions yourself. So, for example, like Midun was telling you, there are some agencies, even good players, they come in and they say, "Oh, we are sorry, we don't represent this sort of players." But you, as an individual, you can dictate the players that you want. You can make deals that you want. Some agencies, when they are going, they see a deal, they tell you it's 50-50. But you, as an individual, because probably even if that deal is good and you have brought it to their agency, you can't cut those deals. But you are even happy to take 30 or 20% just because you need to get your first deal out of the way or into the door, get your legs in. So what I'm saying in essence is if you are working alone, the decision lies on you. You are now a sole trader. You can go to A, you can go to B, you can go to C. But if you are working with an agency, you'll be surprised. Some agencies don't work with some particular set of agencies, or they don't do some particular set of deals. So in that way, it might be a little bit uh restricting. So for me, those are the pros and cons. There's little or no differences except from what you learn from them. You learn very fast. You learn with people that are already experienced. But if you're working alone, your speed is faster, and you can make decisions on your own. You can start building individually. But I always say get a guide, get guidance, get mentorship. For me, I did that for like 2 3 years, and I know those experiences, of course, has helped in where I am today. Part of the mentorship was some of them that we got in school while we were in school. So I would still say the best approach is work as a solo agent. That would be my best advice. But find somebody who can mentor you, who is already in an agency. So that way you're doing both simultaneously. Everybody knows my mentor in the UK is Mr. Toby Adebomi, one of a star like us, as player in Austria, as players in Crystal Palace, as player in everywhere in England. And he gave me my first game in England, the first box where I sat in Sheffield. It was Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. Camille Conte was the standout player then. Camille Conte is, I think, he's in Lincoln FC now. And I learned something in that deal. There was a clause in his contract, and it was through a mentorship, which it was a relegation clause. And when I think a team he was playing with or something, they had to relegate when he left Crystal Palace to that team. But because of the way his contract was couched, it was not really affected. And you won't really learn that lesson in books. It will only be through a mentor. I remember driving down together with him to Liverpool to go and pick a player who was coming from Ireland because he used the ferry. So this sort of experiences, you can't get it, or you might not necessarily get it if you are new in the industry and you are working alone. So I'll tell you, yes, I had my own company, I had my own business on the side, but I was following, I was dedicated, I was learning from him while on the job. Another big mentor of mine is Lindy. I can keep counting on and on and on. And also, if you read a lot of books, you can also get mentorship via books, because some of these mentorship are not cheap as well. So yeah, there will be prices to pay. I'm not saying it's not necessarily monetary, but in terms of service, for you to get something out, you have to give something. You have to be dedicated and you have to learn. So the best bet for me, in my opinion, the way I did mine was to actually find somebody who could mentor me. I worked for an agency as well before setting up an agency. So that for me, that's the best way to go. And those are the pros and cons, in my opinion. We have this session is supposed to end like in the next 3 minutes, but we'll try as much as possible to answer the ones we can answer. Um, so what you are saying is after we get our license, we should focus on relationship building. But how do you get these relationships with them when you are not offering? Can I say that question again? When you are not offering anything in return as a newbie,
Sorry,
relationship
can I say
is,
something before you do?
yes. Please go ahead.
I just want to just put in one sentence into just as a precursor to what you're going to say.
Yeah.
First thing is, I believe that nobody offers nothing in return. There's always something to offer. And I can remember something that I think Lindy said one time when I met her. I think that was maybe at Evolution Pop, and she said something around there's always a value. You should always be able to provide something. It could be your knowledge on legal issues. It could be your knowledge on injuries to players. It could be your understanding of digital tools. It could be your understanding of Instagram, etc. Facebook and the likes like that. Your understanding of systems. And if you look at what they've been doing, you should be able to cite something that you can contribute to. And it goes back to what we are saying about how you are more than your license itself. The license is just giving you an avenue to express yourself. So looking at yourself, your personal brand before you got the license, what can you do and how can what you do translate into the agency business? How can what you do translate into your relationship with them? So that was what I wanted to quickly say before, because I know that Fumbi is going to deal with this extensively before we end. And this might even be our last question. But just wanted to just chip that in before Fumbi talks.
Thank you, brother. To be honest, Tumshe, please can you put the question up again? And I'll just write on from where you stop. when you spoke about value. What you are saying is after we got focus on relationships. Of course, Tunk, I might have to say this. Tunk got our book, and I was really moved when he sent me that message. And Tunk bought the book, and he said, "Fumbi, I've bought a whole lot of other books or courses, and I just need to support you." He said, "Because you've given us value by creating this group and things like that. And so this is my way of saying thank you." And I'll be honest with you, that really struck a chord in our art as a company. I had to share that with the rest of the team. And that's value, doing some things without even expecting anything in return, like what Mido even said. Because for me, I like to use real life scenarios and real life examples. So a lot of people, of course, the relationships are transactional, but a lot of people think value in the agency business is about telling you, "Oh, I have contact with this club, go there, or can you put this player in this so places." There's a lot of value that extends beyond all of that. For example, let's say you know somebody. Now there's a program called as CES. There's a there's a convention that we are working on. It's a sports summit in July in Nigeria, plus a scouting tournament. I think I sent the dossier to some of our contacts already. If I know you can speak, for example, I know Godson is quite vast in legal opinion. I can tell him, "Oh, Godson, I think, come, do you want to be a panel speaker in this event?" That is value. That is me putting him out there. And he says, "Oh, you know what? This aligns with what I want to be or what I want to do or what I want to do. Okay, you know what? I will come for the event. Thank you so much. Thank you." And that's just value. Value can come from a way of, "Oh, I got a ticket to a game. There are two tickets I have. Do you want to?" And there was a young like Joseph. He was like, "Oh, Fumbi, do you want to watch this game? I'll be in Aston Villa. This take a ticket." And that was it. I checked my schedule. I'm free, and I attended. So in terms of value, let's not over compensate or blow it out of proportion. Value can be the as little as recommendation, as little as even posting on LinkedIn and saying things that people will even need. So even in that WhatsApp group, there's a lot of people that give value for free on the WhatsApp group. You see people who have done this. For example, Chimsy, when he wrote his exam, we had a webinar with him. Very straightforward. That is value. For us, there's a thing that, oh, this guy has been so this. How can we help him? How can we support him? So I don't want you guys to look at value from a very macro scopic kind of stuff. It can be very myopic, it can be very small, it can be the little things that you do. But most importantly, to the things that come with that giving or that value is give it without expecting anything in return. Is very, very important. Do it willingly. And it still boils down to me when I talk about personal brand. There's so much you can pretend. By the time you are wearing another person's skin, one day you'll be found out. So give value, do it willingly, do it freely, do it without expecting nothing and so much in return. And in terms of relationship building, building can happen in the smallest of places. I still emphasize it. One of the deals we did, I think last year, was somebody on the group. He was a sporting director and we didn't even know about it. Until he was like, "Oh, what can we do for you? I'm this." I said, "Really? Okay, can you do this?" And he made the deal happen. And that was just it. And it was because he said, "Oh, you guys have done this," without expecting anything in return. So it is also very important. Building relationship can happen inside a WhatsApp group, inside an association. If you are a lawyer, you should already join ALFFA. Like we just finished the exam. Midun was in Cape Verde. He just got back to Nigeria today and his life here. Shout out to you, brother. And I'm saying massive thank you on behalf of everybody in the community and everybody in the company. He just got back from Cape Verde. So, and we had a lot of excuses not to even be there. And he went there, spoke, and of course, contacts, relationships will be built from there. So, guys, I want you to start looking at doing things small in the place where you are, in your own community, in your own church. Tell people what you do and how you can help them sincerely. And that relationship keeps building. and don't look at value from a big space. Just do it uh, little by little. So we'll take two more questions, and that will be the end. I think this will be recorded. And like I said, if you want to be part of this conversation, like Stanley did, join our Ball Business Premium, you get ball credit, you get a whole lot of things, you get discounts to partners that we work with and things from Ball Business as well. And it's also a way to support what we are doing as a company. The problem is value is defined by the other party you're trying to connect with. How do you find what is valuable to them? Good. So, what is valuable to A is not what is valuable to B. And I think this is from a mindset thing. Like I said, I use Tunk as an example. I never knew what was valuable to him. I never knew the group was valuable to him. We never knew opening the group is valuable to him. Why we are doing this live, probably maybe we just want to connect to somebody. So that's why I said it's a mindset thing. If you have to give value, give it sincerely. Just do your own part of the deal and let the person make sense out of the value. It's a different ball game when you're building the relationship and the person says, "Oh, Fumbi, this is what I need from you." And if you're able to give that, that is a defined value. But in building a genuine and strong, lasting relationship, it's just like trying to get a girlfriend or stuff. You don't you go there, approach, you woo her to your side, you know, tell her genuinely, okay, this is who you are, this is who you are, and let the person decide whether that makes sense to them. Some will not even say anything and said, "Oh, I've just been looking at you, I think you are cute, I think we can now get into a relationship." So there are different sort of relationships. So you cannot just say, "Oh, value has to be defined by the other party." It's not always in each case. But first, in this industry and as a business, give value to your relationship genuinely. When you meet somebody, okay, now, true life story. This happened, I think, 2, 3 weeks ago. There was a lady in our community based in Spain. She went for a scouting tournament in Africa. And where they were speaking, the person mentioned my name to another lady. And this lady asked, she does this tech stuff and things like that. And what happened is that we already had a kind of conversation where I just told her some things. Okay, do it this way, do it this way, do it that way, without expecting anything in return. This was like 2, 3 years ago. And for her, that was value to her. For me, it didn't even mean anything. So in that conversation, it led to something, led to another thing, and led to something that later became beneficial to us as a company. So that is still what I'm saying in terms of value. Value might not necessarily be defined at that point when you are giving it, but it might make sense to somebody else later on. So I don't know if Midun can also add to this as well.
I think what you said makes sense because when you start to look for what is valuable to them, it becomes not too sincere, and it
Becomes
becomes obvious
transactional.
that yeah, you're doing it for a particular reason, that you want to get something in return. And it then in the long term it affects you yourself because you're expected to get something and the person did not see it as anything, or the person did not give you anything back. And you are bitter about it, that and I did this for you. I did that for you. But value is, at least the way I see it, is you being able to do something no matter how little. For example, now let's say I have 1,000 euros. I know you're trying to do something. I could just give you, if I give you maybe 100 euros out of it. Yeah, I'm not saying give money. Please don't misunderstand me. But if I give
Yeah.
you 100 euros out of the little I have, yeah, it's something you might not necessarily see it as anything, but I was able to do that from my own sincerity. Oh, this is what I can afford to give you right now, you know. And you'll be shocked because a lot of people even appreciate the tiniest gestures than the big and loud things. It could be a recommendation. It could be someone you just spoke to about. It could be something you just did that, oh, for example, you could just say, oh, normally I charge for this, but just because I know maybe your situation or whatever. And it's funny because you yourself might not even know that. it mattered to that person until later. The person might not tell you anything. The person might tell someone else. You know, you might see someone and the person will just tell you that, oh, this person did this for me, oh, and I was really happy that the person did it for me. And that person might just be telling you that, oh, someone I was with somebody the other day and he said this about you, and you're like, oh, okay, fine. And the key thing is you yourself, you are not moved about what the person said. Why? Because you did it out of the sincerity of your heart. And the truth is, the little time I've been in the industry, I've realized that that's what breeds collaboration. That's what builds when people find that they can trust you. You're not doing things out of want for monetary gain. And it also goes down to some of the things or some of the um, character that I believe that agents should build. You should not always be after monetary gain, but also after impacting people. You ensuring that you can also do things for the greater good of the community, greater good of the African community, global community, football ecosystem, also contributing your own little quota, no matter how little, no matter how small. That for me in itself is even value, you know.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Finish up. Finish.
to be fair, that was what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Value. I've realized that it's just sometimes the very minute things that you don't even pay attention to.
I just got a message now on the technical group. Somebody has been given a new date to write the exam, which is very, very glad. So yeah. So guys, we still have quite good amount of questions, but we're going to be stopping here today. Ugochukwu is nice. He said he's glad to have met Anthony Uja. Anthony Uja is a top striker in his days. Sprint FC Tung said life is too short to be alone. We need to see each other as much as possible for better, and you cannot agree less to that. Thank you so much, guys. If you have not subscribed, please support us, subscribe, like, and share. This would also be uploaded. And the next session where we'll be talking, asking questions, would be in 2 weeks' time. So if you have any questions that you want us to discuss, please send it to our email. And if you want to be part of this conversation as well, join the Ball Business Premium, and we bring you on board. Even people are able to ask you questions. And of course, we will be inviting quite a lot of you too. If you want to have this sort of questions, just send us a DM. We can bring you here live, and people want to talk to you. You can share your business. You can start building your personal brand through the platform as well. Remember, our business community is for every one of us. It's for everybody. Thank you so much. I'll let Midun close the session for us and give you guys his last words.
Thank you so much, Fundy. I think I'll end the session by giving this last words. Be intentional about everything you're doing, and it's something I always, tell even my junior colleagues also. Be intentional. Nothing comes by chance. Be intentional about building relationships. Be intentional about building your brand. Like we said earlier, what do you want your brand to portray? What do you want your brand to show? What do you want people to, where they see you, what do you want them to think? What's the first thing you want them to think? There's this meme going around now saying, oh, you've been wearing, how do you know it's me? You've been wearing that black shirt often, you know. So I saw the black shirt and I knew it was you. So be intentional about, these things, and you'll be shocked how much intentionality and resilience will take you in the industry. And trust me, it's not easy, but those things will keep you going. And would love to talk to you guys again the next 2 weeks. Send us your messages, send us your you can send us messages, send us mails. We'll be very, very, very happy to respond to you. So thank you everyone and good night.
Good night, guys. Bye.